Hello and welcome to Beyond the Boundary. This is the 2015 season preview for the Western Bulldogs. My name is Nick Geisen. I'm joined by Josh Rickard and Vinay Lakshman as always. Now boys, the Western Bulldogs, Tom Boyd, he is the multi-million-dollar man. He's the marquee player at the Dogs now. They've given up a lot to get in there. What do you think?
Paid too much for him.
Paid too much?
Yeah, I agree. Right off the bat, I agree. You have seen this kid play less than 10 games?
Less than 5 games.
Less than 5 games, and you're paying him more than $1 million a year.
Yep.
That's trouble.
It's crazy money. They've given up their marquee player in Ryan Griffin. They've given up good draft picks. I think it was 4 and 6 they gave up to get in there.
It was just pick 6.
Just pick 6, sorry. It's crazy. The price
It's ridiculous. I mean, obviously, if you want someone that bad, you pay massive overs, which they have. But they can't expect Tom Boyd to kick 40 plus goals from this year.
Well, I think what Tom Boyd brings to the Bulldogs have become a very boring club of late. They're not. Well, I say that the fans won't be happy, but there wasn't really that big excitement factor. Like Melbourne have got Jesse Hogan. They've got that player who, next year Jesse Hogan's coming in.
What about young Jack Redpath?
He's going to be about savings. But now they've brought in Tom Boyd. He's not just a player; he's a face for that club now.
Yeah.
I think that will sell memberships. I think that will put bums on seats for the Western
Oh,
Bulldogs.
absolutely. He is the face of that football club now.
Yeah.
There's no doubt that he is the face of that.
Well, I think the Bulldogs weren't that exciting, I agree, comparatively, but I think they do have exciting players.
Yeah.
I really do enjoy watching the likes of Tom Liberatore, Luke Dullhouse, those type of players play. They're talented young kids.
Yeah.
And you love watching guys like Bob Murphy. But you're right in saying that Tom Boyd will give their club a bit more energy, is I think what you're trying to say there. And he will. But I don't know if he is the solution to their forward issues. They brought Stewie Crumry down, and he was about as useful as a peeled banana.
We'll get onto that soon.
Banana peel, I should say. Not a peeled banana.
We'll get onto that soon, but there's also been some significant outs for the Western Bulldogs. We mentioned Ryan Griffin. Sean Higgins has been a player who they've persisted with through consistent injuries for a long time.
Serious injuries too.
Yep. Adam Cooney, a huge player for this club, a Brownlow medalist for the Dogs. He's gone. He's off to Essendon. Liam Jones, he's been, their big man down forward. They've given up on him. They've shifted him out to make room for Tom Boyd. So also some big outs there.
Well, the other one's Daniel Giansiracusa
as
well. I mean, he's hanging around the club in an assistant coach role.
Yep.
So he's a loss on the field, but off the field he'll be just as crucial.
I think he's a loss as a player in general. Yeah. To be honest, he's a very good player.
Who's going to play as a sub now?
He reminds me a lot of Tim Cahill. He's the guy that will deliver every time he comes on, and he's old, and Nick doesn't like Tim Cahill, so we won't drag on about that. But
don't know where that's coming from.
Okay. Anyway, well, he's gone now, but as you mentioned, he's like John O'Brien. He'll stick around, he'll give his input, he will be helpful to the young development.
Well, he has to.
Yeah. He has to, yes.
Now, there's a lot of... I said they're a bit of a boring club, but there's some very exciting young players down there at the moment. Yeah. The guys like Jake Stringer, Marcus Bontempelli, Nathan Provat, Lockie Hunter, and Jordan Rufford, they're the big candidates to take that next step. Jackson McRae as well, I should mention. They're going to take that next step and join the top bracket of players in this club.
Well, Jakey Stringer had somewhat of a breakout year in the second half of last year, if that makes sense.
I agree with that, yeah.
Kicked his first bag.
Which I think was against us. But... He's been training a bit with the midfield this year as well, so we could see him roll through the midfield. He did play through the midfield in his TAC Cup days. Bontempelli had a super year last year. He'll be looking to take that another one. Rovat and Lockie Hunter, those two nuggety little players.
The Nuggets.
The two Nuggets, they'll add some real spark into the midfield and down
Geordie Rufford, the cousin of one Jared.
Yep.
He's a good-looking KPD. He looks like he's got everything in the right spot.
And now vice-captain of the club, so it looks like they're grooming him. Obviously, Bob Murphy's not going to be around for too much longer, so they're grooming him as their next skipper, maybe.
Wow.
The other one we left out as well is Clay Smith. I really think he is a talented young player.
He's been very unlucky.
He's had 2 knee reconstructions. He's been very, very unlucky. I think he can come into that side and add something different.
Yeah, he's yet to really cement his spot in that best 22, and there's a number of players who are ready to do that. Mitch Honeychurch, Fletcher Roberts, Michael Talia, all names that are really looking to take that next step, push up, and sort of join the first team there.
Well, the number one for me is Michael Talia.
Yep.
I think he can come in and play somewhat a supporting role to Dale Morris, but also learn off Dale Morris in a game situation.
Yep.
Talia, the brother of Daniel at Adelaide, plays a very similar role to Daniel. So he's a fraction shorter than what Daniel is, but plays a very similar role. So I think he can come in and assist Dale Morris in defence.
I'm actually quite interested in Mitch Honeychurch. Good, taken last year's draft, didn't see too much action. He's a good young player. I think he's just been kept out by the fact that they already have a lot of talented smalls in the team already. Lukey Dalhouse. But I honestly don't think the Bulldogs, they can benefit from having a smaller forward line. Because their talls, Tom Boyd and Stuart Crameri aren't exactly, the kind of guys that you need to clear the entire forward line for. They're not, well, Crameri anyway isn't a big marking forward.
Yeah.
So I think they could really benefit from having more smalls around there to help out.
Well, Tom Boyd, as we mentioned before, he's that real number one key forward, the target down there.
The target.
Stewie Crameri.
How about that?
Stewie Crameri plays better as that third key forward down there.
Well, absolutely. I mean, at his time at Essendon, he was most successful as playing as that second or third.
And he was kicking sort of 30, 35 goals a year in that spot.
Absolutely.
He was looking good.
He was playing that second, third fiddle role. So with Tom Boyd coming in, taking that number one defender from the opposition, Crameri can take that second, third defender and really have an impact. So I think Crameri will be the one to look out for, not Boyd.
Yep. Okay.
Interesting.
Now, they've lost arguably their best midfielder in Griffin. They've also lost Adam Cooney, we mentioned, who's another big name. Who's going to step up in that absence, and what kind of impact are those losses going to have on the club?
I think they've put a lot of pressure on their young mids by waving bye-bye to Griffin and Cooney. Well, obviously, Cooney's more of an outside player, and, McRae had a brilliant year last year. Breakout would be an understatement. He's going to take the next step up. And, he copped a bit of a rocket from the coach. He got dropped. Because he wasn't a good.
He was on the brink of dropping.
He was dropped, wasn't he?
No,
he wasn't, but he was criticised for not being a good defensive runner.
He started as a sub.
Correct. There we go. So he learnt his lesson and he worked much harder in that second half of the year. 40 touches in his second year, which is insane. So, he's going to have to lift. I think, Luke Dalhouse will see more midfield time.
I was just about to say that with Ryan Griffin, we should clarify that he put in a trade request. He wasn't shafted out.
He wasn't just shafted
by the Bulldogs. But the thing with Ryan Griffin was, he had grunt, but he also had pace.
Correct.
Now, when I look at the Western Bulldogs and a similar player, that player is Luke Dalhouse.
Luke Dalhouse, I agree.
So I think Luke Dalhouse will play more midfield.
He's that guy,
and try and fill that role left by Ryan Griffin. And we'll see the likes of Rovat Hunter and maybe Mitch Honeychurch plays.
They've still got Tom Liberatore in there. Matty Boyd still hanging around. So they've still got some very talented young midfielders.
One area of the ground where they really rely on one man is the ruck. Will Minson, if he goes down, there's a big problem there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I rate Tom Campbell as a footballer, but he hasn't played a lot of senior football.
Definitely not.
So I think he'll play a lot as a second, third forward and rotate with Minson. However, if Minson goes down...
They're in trouble.
They're in trouble because I don't have a great deal of faith in Ace Cordy.
Okay.
I know a lot of Dogs fans don't either. So there's a lot of pressure on Big Will. He was only an All-Australian 2 years ago, so the talent's there. He had a down year last year. But the talent's there for him to step up.
Minson's a very fit ruckman, by the way. So he plays 22 games almost every year. So he'd be able to handle that workload. But is it smart to put it on him? That's all.
Correct. Now, what are we expecting from the Dogs in 2015? There's one big burning question we've got to ask, and can they kick a winning score often enough to stay out of the bottom four?
They will occasionally, but not often enough.
Not often enough?
No.
Okay.
I'd agree, I think. I don't know. It's the same question I'd ask with Brisbane. Can their youngsters kick goals on the very good defenders? Can Tom Boyd do that, having played less than 10 games? I don't know. Probably not in my book. But I think they can have a good year. I honestly think that because, they are a developing team.
Yep. That brings us into the pass mark that we've agreed on for the Western Bulldogs this year. It's the lowest one we can give. It's 13th to 16th. They don't want to be in the bottom two. We don't want to see them in the bottom two. If they can finish, on the upper end of that scale, outside the bottom four, 13th, 14th, 15th, you'd be pretty happy with that year for the Western Bulldogs.
Absolutely, because they've lost a ton of experience. So if they can finish on that upper echelon, as I said earlier, of that 13th, 16th, then that'll be a pass.
That brings us to the end of the 2015 season preview for the Western Bulldogs. We hope you've enjoyed it. We'll see you next time.